All right, guys, welcome to Strife Chat. We're going to be talking about esports. We're going to be talking about Team Kaizen, and we're going to be talking about Shank a little bit today. But first, let's get a roll call. For those of you who don't know, or should know, you got Ryzen over on the right there.
Present.
You've got NYHGN Hogan right after me.
Hello.
And we also have Arinnar, all from Team Kaizen. Arinnar's on the left, on the far left there. So, first things first. How's everybody doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Doing pretty good. Feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
No complaints.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah. How's winning your last tournament, huh?
Oh, it's always nice to win first place, especially because of the amount of work we put in every week. So I think we all feel pretty good about it.
You put in work.
I mean, I play a lot. That's what you mean.
Yeah, that last tournament was a little bit of redemption for us after some poor results previously, so we're definitely excited to win that one, and we're ready to start practicing more strategies and get into the mix more often with new heroes. So Shank was definitely an opportunity for us to broaden our horizon.
Yeah, that's great. So, how much Shank did you actually play, though?
In that tournament, none. But I believe we have Manti, the Shank expert, non-stop playing
yes.
Shank since release. So we're in the lab right now. We're testing everything out with him.
We haven't found something quite optimal for him yet, but he seems really fun to watch and to play. So we want to bring him out in the tournament sooner or later.
You haven't found something optimal for Manti yet? Or...
Yeah, Manti, we just can't fit him in. We don't know what to do with him really. We're trying to find a place. We're thinking, sixth man bench cheerleader. That might be his role.
There you go.
Shank, of course, is, we're going to talk about him later, but we're struggling.
Hey, yeah, I guess we'll get to him later and we'll talk about that. So, I guess first on the list is esports. We've seen a lot of changes within the competitive scene, mostly from people like you and people like Strife HQ and Flaming Cow trying to do something different with tournaments. How, in your best words, and this one's for Hogan, how would you best describe the current competitive scene, like for an outsider?
Well, okay, I'll start off by saying, if you're an outsider, I'm going to tell you it's amazing because I want you to come into it. But if you're an insider, you know that it's pretty weak, honestly, and there's a lot of reasons why. The most obvious reason is going to be because we're in closed beta of Strife. Not everyone has access, so there's less players than you'd want in a normal competitive scene, which means less teams. And it's generally hard to form teams when you're coming into a closed beta like this because, you don't necessarily have keys for all of your friends, so it could just be you and one other guy, and then you're out in the wilderness trying to find some friends in matchmaking, and that happens very rarely if you play matchmaking. So, it's difficult to find teams, and then to keep teams together is also exceedingly difficult. We've been lucky with Kaizen to be able to find people that can work well together and stick together for a longer period of time. But I think as it stands right now, it's a problem not only from the limited player base, but also the way Strife is structured. It's not retaining players because it hasn't implemented the key features such as ranked matchmaking or anything like that yet. So that is acting as another issue for us for keeping players around, giving them something to play longer for, and I'm sure S2 are working on that. So we can't really complain to S2 yet because the game's in development, but there's definitely a lot to look forward to in the future.
How do you feel about that, Ryzen? I see you nodding your head yes.
Well, yeah, he pretty much hit all the main points of it. The competitive scene is very, very small right now. There's only about 3 to 4 reliable teams you'll see in the top 4. But I do have faith. I really like Strife, man. I feel like if you're a MOBA player and you get into Strife, you're gonna find something you like in it, whether it's the crafting system, the pet system, because it's so unique, and I think it's very theory crafting. Deep. It's very fun to theory craft. So
theory craft-esque, if you will.
I have faith in the game, and I hope it will succeed. It's all up to S2. on S2.
I mean, yeah, it is up to S2 to, I suppose listen to their player base, as far as, such a game in such a early infant stage. But, it largely also relies on the community to stay faithful.
It's very true.
If a community gives up on their developer, the developer has no reason to keep going. But honestly, I think as a whole, I think the community is really strong. There have been some issues with people talking about, toxicity within the game, and I don't think that's. I think people misunderstand S2 when they say, oh, they want to make something casual, that there's no toxicity. There's never going to be a situation where there's no toxicity.
Yeah, it's a MOBA.
Exactly.
Names.
Yeah, people get competitive, and it's easier to blame other people than yourself sometimes. But even with that stuff aside, I think the community is really strong.
Yeah, it's just disheartening at times because we, having been around for a while, we see the cycles of players that are like gung ho, falling off a little bit. They find a team finally, and then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, they've gone missing from Strife. So, this happens pretty often, and it's largely because it is closed beta, and they'll probably come back when more features come into play later on. So we're excited for that aspect of it. But as you said, the community that sticks to it is pretty sound. I mean, the other big teams are all very good people and definitely making it interesting for us as competitors.
Mm-hmm. And now, I know both you, Arinnar, and Ryzen are big streamers. How do you feel, Arinnar, about the community not only in game but from Twitch itself?
We get a lot of support from people that don't even play Strife. Obviously, there's a lot of people that want to try to get into Strife with the beta key giveaways and stuff. And it seems like beta keys are a lot easier to come by lately, on my opinion. So you'll see a lot of these streamers like Ryan or myself or like the Peon and them. They have plenty of keys to give away, and even the people that don't play the game seem to have an interest in it, just in watching it in general. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally understand that. How do you feel about that, Ryzen?
Yeah, man, like, if you truly wanted a key for this game, it's very easy to get. It's not only from us. There's, I know they do giveaways on Facebook and Reddit and all kinds of social media you can get a key from. So the accessibility of the game it's really easy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know, personally, because S2 sends me beta keys to give away.
Mm-hmm.
I still have beta keys myself that, I can give away. It's just, people just need to ask me, I don't know if it's a beta key. And I think people who come into the stream are either too timid to ask or just, figure that, it's not something that's readily available to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go for it.
I was about to say, on what you were saying, if you guys want a beta key, all you have to do is ask. Any of us that have a beta key will give it. It's not...
We'll be more than glad.
Yep.
So yeah, if you want a beta key, feel free to hit that chat box up, and we'll hook you up with one. So, back to the main topic, which is esports, and tying the whole community in to esports, because the whole reason why League of Legends esports and other esports have succeeded is based on the community and what the community enjoys watching, because they can't necessarily partake in it. There are always going to be better players, and they're going to be the ones who are competing on a bigger stage. So as far as that's concerned, what do you think is the main need of the competitive scene for S2? Because I think that the community is, doing a great job in being involved.
I think, one of the most obvious needs is going to be, like I said before, ranked matchmaking, for multiple reasons. I mean, you could even look back at an example like League of Legends. When it was in beta, before they had big competitions or any sponsor competitions, they had ranked matchmaking. Mantikias in the early League of Legends beta was top 15 players, so he can vouch for that. It kept people around because you get to see yourself on like a ladder board or a scoreboard or whatever, and you can brag about that. You get to compete with better players as you progress. So that will in turn keep more people around. It will help people meet better players along the way instead of right now clicking matchmaking and meeting just randoms, and you don't know which way that's going to go. Sometimes we get into matches and we find a player that is playing their first game. Other times we go into matchmaking and we find someone that's pretty good, and we're surprised, honestly, because most players that we get matched with in matchmaking aren't at the highest caliber because of the way the system is working out right now. So, ranked matchmaking has to be one of the top priorities if they're trying to build the competitive scene, but I'm not sure competitive scene is the priority for S2 as a whole right now. They've gotten feedback that says they want more heroes, and I think they're going to maybe switch the emphasis to that a little bit more, and that definitely is nice for us as well as players, because having a more diverse hero pool maybe will eventually lend to having picks and bans as a natural feature in the game, as well as maybe exclusive heroes, which would be something that we can really hope for and look forward to.
Yeah, I definitely think that, S2 needs to take a little bit of a stronger hand in the competitive scene, and I do think that doing the, a ranked ladder system within the game itself is useful. And what I think people don't realize particularly about having a ranked ladder system in the game is, as far as, let's use League of Legends for an example, and for those of you who are not familiar with the way the LCS is set up, at least for North America and Europe, we're excluding the OGN, but the way they use it and the way they do the system is you have basically challenger teams, and the challenger teams are teams that perform consistently above a certain level. And those teams are then thrown into, a challenger league, and they compete against each other to try to get into the LCS, which is their premier, playoff league. Whereas, you have a game like Strife that doesn't have that internal support, and what ends up happening is, you really don't have consistent rosters except for, the exceptions such as, Kaizen and Supernatural and stuff like that. So that. I think that is a big part of what's missing. I do agree, with you that S2 has been looking into it, and may eventually implement something like that. But it's still a very, very early in beta game, and
Yeah.
there's so many things to focus on. They don't want to just go too big, too fast, and not be able to support its own structure.
Yeah, and there's also, like you were saying earlier about the community, there's opportunities for the community to also help that out. Like, if there were more prize tournaments in play, then of course more teams would come together and stay together. Like we saw for Flaming Cow, that had more teams sign up and more teams participate than any tournament ever before because of the incentive. So if you dangle a carrot on a stick, then yeah, that's going to help out in the long term as well. But obviously, because of what we mentioned before, player retention and stuff like that, it's a dangerous area for sponsors to be throwing money into because you don't know what kind of returns you're going to be getting. So, it's a double-edged sword, really, and we're probably just going to have to wait on S2 and how they choose to develop it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But let's keep going here. So for those of you who have come from League or come from Dota, we're going to use those examples just because, in my opinion, those are the biggest ones. Obviously, League is the biggest, and Dota's International is actually pretty awesome. Do you think Strife as a game? So think of it as purely a game. From a player standpoint, do you think it has the ability to compete against League and Dota 2?
I think it does in the way that it's one of the newer second-generation MOBAs, and it's quite a bit different than League or Dota, with the Sundara and the Baldir and the generators. The way the crafting system works and the pets instead of standard summoners and stuff like that. It's on an entirely different scale, and S2 does seem to be taking their time to try to make it as perfect as they can, as you could with a MOBA. And I mean, they've done a really good job so far, as early as it is in the closed beta. It has the potential to get really huge if they keep doing what they're doing, just with the game alone and expanding what they're doing.
No, I agree. I definitely agree with you. I think at least the direction that they're going with the game makes it kind of fresh and different from the current standard MOBAs that they have out right now. My only concern though with that is, League is already so huge. How do you tackle that? How do you get over that hump into, the spotlight? Because I don't necessarily think that Strife needs to overtake League of Legends. I think that would be like a much
One
bigger,
hell of a goal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very, very large goal. So maybe it would be to compete with League of Legends, maybe in a different way. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely think S2 has a lot of work cut out for them. Like Arinnar said, they're responding to the Reddit threads, and they're responding to whatever we competitive players say as soon as possible and as best as possible. And I'm sure they'll do something. I hope so. I really, really hope so, man. The Strife is such a fun game to play. So, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. I have a lot of fun playing this game, more so than I did with League of Legends, honestly.
Yeah, I remember when I first started playing Strife. I was a Han player, so I was like, oh, it's S2. I'll try it out. I kind of like them. And then I was immediately addicted. I don't know what it was about the game. I just couldn't get enough of it, and I still can't get enough of it right now. So I have a lot of faith in this game.
Yeah, I mean, personally for me, I started playing Han, and then switched to League, and before I get burned at the stake, yeah, I enjoyed League more than Han. But do you think it gives S2 an advantage to have already put out a MOBA and to now be putting
Totally.
out a second one?
I mean, because I'm sure they know this, they definitely made some mistakes in Han, whether it was marketing or whatever, and they know all the mistakes they made. So we can only hope they capitalize on those mistakes as best as they can. The whole trial and error thing, I think they do have an advantage that way, but man, the mobile market is so hard to get into. I guess it's up to us players too to try to help out with all the marketing and stuff, and try to get the game out there and give the keys to our friends and try to get as many players as we can and keep talking good stuff about the game will help as well.
Yeah, we could have had this conversation, what is it, 6 years ago, 5 years ago about Han, and all forecasts would have been Han is going to be ridiculously huge because Han open beta or even closed beta had 60 to 80,000 people playing on a daily basis. That was before any of the games blew up, and things took a turn there. Obviously, it didn't quite get as big, but Han was still a successful game by everyone else's standard. I don't think League is the way you measure yourself. I think more like if you hit StarCraft numbers, then you got to be pretty satisfied with yourself. That's probably even a big goal at that. So, they need to set their own standard and try and reach that isn't League, because I don't know if anyone's going to ever meet that. It's like trying to become the next WoW. How many times have we heard World of Warcraft come into question this is the WoW killer? It's just not going to happen probably. And if you set your goal for that, you're just going to let yourself down.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think you should define it as tackling League. I think you should define it as, set your own personal goals. There's no reason why they both can't exist simultaneously.
I agree. I think they should just be, if they want to surpass anything, they can worry about surpassing Han and trying to make it a better, more bigger game than Han was itself. And I personally didn't play Han. I came from League, and I don't think I would ever go back to League. I'd much rather stay to Strife. It just feels so much better than League, even with the community alone.
Yeah, definitely. So let's switch a little bit. Let's switch it up. Obviously, for those of you who don't know, or rather for those of you who do know, this is Team Kaizen that we have featured here. Well, three of the members of Kaizen, and we've got Gullivre also trolling around in the chat. But
Wild Gullivre has appeared. What?
Yeah, exactly. Wild Gullivre has appeared. What do you do?
Oh my god.
Kick him in the nuts and flee?
All you need is a Pokeball. He's not good enough for a Master Ball, so.
What? Never waste a Master Ball on Gullivre. So, question on my mind is, how old is the team?
We're over 40, all of us. Only Gullivre is
How
over
long
40.
have you guys been playing together as a team, competitively?
Oh. I thought you meant our ages. I want to say the beginning of this year.
January?
Yeah, just about, right, guys?
I'd say about late January, mid
I don't
to
know. I
late
feel like I've
January.
known these guys forever. They're so awesome.
So you guys know each other from other games?
No, we all met in Strife.
That's really interesting. Especially like you guys have definitely such a strong cohesive nature, both in game and out of game. That's really interesting to see because what is it, April now? So you guys have only been really playing as a team for only 4 months.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. The first time I played with Ryzen and them too was the day I got my beta key. I filled in for a scrim.
What?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I won a key from Wings Ltd. And the day I got the key, I helped play a little bit. It was pretty fun.
Nice.
Did they teach you a thing or two? Is that what happened? They took you in under their
Um,
wing and nurtured you?
Well, it was an opening to like talking to everybody. The scrim was an interesting experience. This is it was pretty eye-opening, and it like I had the day to play the game a little bit and get the feel for it, but I wasn't near the level I needed to be to help them out or anything.
Mhm.
But it was a good experience, and it opened the door to be friends with everybody. So
Yeah. No, definitely. I agree. Just because I haven't really known you guys personally for a long time. I haven't. And you guys were very welcoming, especially Mantakias. He lets me carry him every game. So.
Tell me about it.
So, do you guys have any specific plans for your team in the competitive scene? I mean, obviously, I don't want you to leak any hidden strategies, such as, I don't know, solo Shank bottom or something like that. But what do you have? What are your plans? What are your goals?
Solo Shank bottom. That's our goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Oh,
want to
it's
win the
league.
international and worlds and every other competition. No, our goals right now are just to keep winning, and we want to diversify our hero pool more as we move forward. And that's about all we can say. Like, there isn't a competition that we could point to and be like, we want to win this. Like, obviously, we want to.
Oh, wow. So Will just joined the chat.
Hey, Nick!
He's loud.
Looks like.
Oh, sorry.
You're very loud, Will. Leave the call.
Okay. I'll see you later.
All
Sorry.
right.
I have some explaining to do.
Yeah, you do.
Is that Dubs?
Yeah, that was Dubs
Oh, jeez.
calling in from his car. He was supposed to be here with us today, but I don't know what happened to him. Evidently, he's got some splaining to do. But anyway, where were we before we got rudely interrupted?
I don't know. We don't have a particular goal. Of course, we want to get better, but we're not gonna, say anything outrageous. Like, if a competition comes up, our goal is going to be to win it, and that should be the goal of any team, right? If you want to compete anyway. So we have no crazy goals like to, I don't know, eventually all become a professional Strife/rock band singing team that goes across the country and plays
New
from town to
dictators
town.
of North Korea.
Yeah.
Got some talent on this team. No.
All right. So I've got a question for you. Suppose you guys make it big, right? And you guys are a professional team, and you have to move into a gaming house together. Ryzen, who's the first person you'd choose to room with?
Oh my God. Why am I so nervous to answer this question? You know what? I'm gonna say Arinnar because I feel like we have a lot in common. We have the same music taste, same talent base.
Yeah.
Same. I don't know. I just feel like he's a brother from another mother. So
Yeah.
Definitely.
Do you feel the same way, Arinnar, or do you have another choice in mind?
Nah, it'd definitely be Ryzen, man. He's a really good friend of mine. We've become close, and I agree. We have a lot of the same interests, a lot of the same kind of play style in a way, and just as per people, it's just a lot in common.
It's really touching. What about you, Hogan? Who are you gonna choose? You gonna join this love triangle? You gonna turn it into a love?
Obviously, I would not barge into their room or whatever. I would probably room with Manti because we've known each other forever. So, and we also have similar tastes. You know, we both like tacos and stuff like that. So it'd be perfect. But I think also Gullivre is like the team dad. So it seems appropriate that he gets his own room.
Like perfect for him to get his own room. You don't want his own room anyway.
Would you guys like go to bed, wait for him to fall asleep, and then sneak out of your rooms and like hang out? Is that what's gonna happen?
I would, but I don't think some of the other guys would be ballsy enough to do it. I think they'd be afraid of Gullivre's wrath.
Yeah, I'd probably just stare at him and not deal with that.
You know, poor Gullivre, man. I offered him to come on the show, and at least he could have defended himself. But oh well. He's got
I'm sure he'll say something soon enough.
Alpha Center says the racism is palpable. Of course, Manti likes tacos.
Manti loves tacos, man. He's not afraid to admit
Especially Taco Bell. If you ever talk to him, ask him
my
about how
God.
fond of Taco
What?
he
Are you
is.
serious?
Yeah.
Yeah, he really
Yeah.
is. Like, I don't eat
That's
Taco
his
Bell. I
favorite
eat
place.
Chipotle, but he only goes for Taco Bell.
What is wrong with him?
I don't know.
I don't know.
You gotta
Even I
ask
have better
him.
taste in tacos.
Is
than
you
you.
watching? Oh god.
I hope he is. I hope he is. All right. So, my next question was, who fills what roles on the team? Obviously, we have now discussed that Gullivre is the team dad. Is he also the shot caller in game?
Yes. Indeed.
So does everybody shut up whenever he's talking? Is that what that is?
Yes. During laning phase, if you're with your partner, you usually say little things here and there. But once, like, the mid-game and the objectives hit, that's when Gullivre is the god voice. You must shut up and listen to him.
Yeah.
And it works best that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, that's
Yeah.
really good, I don't want to, obviously start anything, but, it is a question. As far as, being approachable, I think personally he is. Is he the type of, shot caller who's approachable at least after the game?
Yeah. He always says, if there's anything we need to work on, we usually say it after the game anyway, because during the game it might start, conflict if you, like, oh, we can do this instead, where most of the time we give feedback to each other after the game, because, you don't want that happening during the game. That's what you don't want.
Yeah, you don't want to put people on tilt, as they say.
Yeah.
No shot caller is ever going to be perfect. There's always a chance that a bad call might be made, but it's how you handle it, and Gullivre is just about the best at handling the situation that he's put in.
I think Reginald was the perfect shot caller, honestly. For those of you who are familiar with Reggie, I think he was an amazing shot caller.
TSM.
Hashtag TSM hype. I think they're going to switch to Strife.
Oh, you think so? there was a troll team that signed up for the Flaming Cow. I don't know how far they made it, but yeah, they were there.
Well, I know TSM has a Smite division. Same with C9 and CLG. So maybe we'll see it. I don't know.
Hope so.
So if you had to pick one person on the team who's like the morale person, like the morale man, who do you think it is? Who's the person that's always fluffing everybody?
Mantakias.
Mantakias?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always patting everybody's butts.
You go to him when you want to be in a good mood. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah.
No, I completely agree. Even when he's in a bad mood, he's in a good mood. It's really weird.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Now, what about Team Whipping Post? Who's the scapegoat that everybody blames for everything? I think it's Arinnar. He's smiling right now. Is it Arinnar?
I don't know. When we make mistakes, we address each other. Like,
Yeah.
I think we've all made a mistake here and there, So.
Well, I mean, like a mistake that's out of your hands. Like, let's say somebody missed a creep kill. Do you just blame Arinnar even though he's not in the lane?
I don't know. We don't really explode over creep kills like that.
Yeah, I don't think anyone on the team is really a scapegoat. If if someone makes a problem, it's addressed to that person. But if someone addressed someone about a problem and that other problem, it would be addressed to them as well. It's not. No one gets blamed for everything, or it's never one-sided.
We don't hide anything. You definitely.
Yeah. Hey, for you teams who are trying to break into the scene, take notes. So, question for you guys, and obviously, I don't want you to do any conflict of interest here, but have you guys have any blah blah blah? Have you guys had any direct involvement with the S2 development? The development of Strife with S2, besides obviously white knighting the Reddit forums, but any
No.
no?
We just give as much feedback as we can.
Yeah, because I know some
like
people
they
do
read it
have
sometimes.
those beta test accounts, but
Yeah, the most involvement we have is we used to play against them a lot.
yeah,
That was pretty much it. Like before matchmaking was in, when we had lobbies, you'd play against S2 people like every day. So it was cool to see that the developers were playing the game and you can be there with them. But other than that, we don't really discuss secrets with them. We didn't develop Shank in secret, I promise.
if you guys developed Shank in secret, I think I would beat the shit out of you.
Oh no.
Pardon my French.
Ooh.
With a giant key. But I don't know. I think honestly, Shank is a pretty fun hero. I
He's really fun.
I like playing him.
He opens up a lot of possibilities for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's one of the if not the only hero that really is an assist to your team. Like they have support type heroes like Lady Tinder, but as far as his toolkit is concerned, it's honestly for team fighting. It's really, really heavily based around setting things up for your team, not just for yourself.
Yeah.
I think it's honestly it's a great choice by S2.
Yeah.
So, do you guys, again, I don't want to start anything, but do you guys have any rivalries with any teams? If you would say. I mean, you don't have to hate the team, obviously. That's not the definition of a rivalry, but...
Yeah, I'll say it because these guys won't. We were very clearly rivals with Illuminati for some time. We're probably still rivals, but it's definitely changed from a more we were on opposing viewpoints on a lot of topics to now we're friendly and rivals. But it's going to continue on, for as long as both teams are in competitions because we go back and forth with wins and losses and stuff like that. So that's definitely our top rival. The other teams we don't play nearly as often. That's probably the reason why we don't really have a developed rivalry with them. But it could definitely blossom in the future depending on how competitions play out.
So what I'm hearing is that Illuminati's worse than you? Is that...
Oh, no.
Oh, that I didn't hear that? Oh, alright, sorry.
Maybe.
No, I actually know the guys from Illuminati. They're great people. Definitely are. And they're a great team, too. But yeah, that's a I respect that rivalry. I respect that. Two good teams competing against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Real classy. What about alliances? Do you have any team alliances?
We have player alliances now because we used to be allied with Tusser, obviously, and Tusser has disbanded and reformed 1,000 times along the way because of the obvious issue with the competitive scene. So we're pretty much allied to a set group of players, and whatever teams they end up on, we'll be on very good terms with. To name a few, Blue Mango, Kid Peculiar, Mobs, any of them, and even more that I'm just not going to name the whole list. But those are close friends that we play with constantly. So wherever they go, we're going to be very close with that team, and we'll probably try and help them out.
Yeah, that's great. I'm very familiar with those names too. Especially Kid Peculiar. He was actually one of the first people I friend requested whenever I started playing this game. He's a really good guy.
Yeah, he's a great player.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. That's for sure. You hear that, guys? Kid Peculiar. But moving on. So let's discuss Shank. I know some people were asking, "Oh, did I miss Shank? Did I miss Shank?" So just in general. Let's just say, what do you guys think about Shank? Let's start with Ryzen.
What do I think about Shank? Well, I'll tell you what I think about Shank of the role I've been playing him. Just solo bottom. So what I do, I just build power Shanks. It's really fun. Do I see it in competitive play? I I think you'd have to be extremely high skilled to play it in competitive play because although he can isolate someone, which can start a team fight, if you isolate the wrong person, like the tank, you're probably going to lose that team fight, you know? So, I don't know. We're still iffy about him, like we said. We haven't found anything optimal, but he's super fun to play, and we're still, the lab.
Yeah, I think that's the same with any sort of grab champion or hero, though. Same like Blitzcrank in League. If you pull the tank, you're gonna get flack for it, and same with like Devour, Pudge. You're gonna get flack for that. But I don't know. Like, do you think that I don't know. From me personally, and from how I see people play this game, there's besides like Bastion, I don't think anybody really plays like a true tank. I've actually even seen like a ton of aces build completely power. So maybe it's actually not that bad. But that's from my experience, which is pretty amateurish. What about you, Hogan? What do you believe? What do you think about Shank?
Okay, so I'll give you all the scoop right now. Shank is the worst laner in the game right now, and that's why I'm having trouble fitting him in. He gets outlaned by everybody. I mean, you could put like a Tinder Malady lane and it would stomp a Shank. It's because, unlike Blitzcrank or Devour or Pudge or what have you, you have to wait until you get 6 to get the hooks. So he doesn't have enough laning presence. He has 1 nuke and a slow and a passive. But only 1 nuke is not enough in this game because most heroes come with 2 nukes in their basic skills. Like Bow, for example, has his bow staff throw and the bow charge stun, which equals 2 nukes and gives him a lot more presence in lanes. So, until he gets a better laning phase, it's going to be difficult to fit him in. And we've tested out the jungle. It doesn't really work for him for reasons that we're not going to get into right now. But you really have to babysit him through the lane, get him to 6 cleanly, and then he can thrive. But that's a lot to ask for in really high-level matches.
Yeah, I agree. His early game is really rough, and I remember the first day playing him, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm so excited to play this guy, and then getting completely destroyed pre-6. And especially for like players who are not used to a hook, because there's always some skill involved in a hook, especially when you're playing against people who know how to play against a hook via hiding behind the enemy or your own minions or brawlers in this game. It just makes it even more difficult. Arinnar, how do you feel about Shank?
I feel like it's really hard early game, like Hogan said. If you make it 2-6 and do a decent job at it, if you have a pretty decent skill cap with Shank, you can be a real game changer with your grabs. But I mean, it depends on the player, obviously. And when it comes to the competitive scene too, Shank is going to have a very high skill cap to be played, because like you said too, you don't want to grab the wrong person. But if you do grab the right person, you could completely change the game, and it makes assaulting like generators easier or something like that, because if you're sieging a generator, you make the right grab, you're more than likely going to get that generator if you're able to kill that person. He's a game changer, but it's getting to that phase that's the hardest part.
No, I definitely agree with you there, especially when sieging the generator or being sieged. He's obviously very strong at displacing the enemy from one another. But do you think like he's viable in competitive play? Like, obviously he's viable in the sense that you can play him and win, but do you think he's a decent first round choice, or even a second round choice?
I think that'll come down to more work being done in the lab. Like, you need to find someone that he can lane with and have a decent laning phase with, because that's going to make or break a game for him. If there is a lane matchup that is good for him, then yeah, I could see him being a first round pick. But there's a lot of work that still needs to be done from the teams to actually like kind of figure that out.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't want you to like leak any trade secrets behind closed doors that you guys are working on, but who do you think is the strongest matchup with Shanks for Shank's benefit?
In a lane?
Yeah, if he's laning with somebody, with a hero, who do you think is who synergizes the best with Shanks?
Well, there's the obvious 3. The 3 best babysitters in the game are Malady, Ray, and Vex, not in that order. But the problem is that if you commit any of those heroes to being with Shank, you lose out an opportunity because you could have a bow there or a bastion there, and they're just considerably better heroes in laning. So, you know, Shank's payoff at 6 and post 6 has to be greater than the laning phase experience you would miss out on from having another one of those heroes. So, you know, right now we're going to continue to play him and test him, especially in scrims, because why not? That's where you should do most of that. But I can't see a reason why you'd pick Shank over a bow or bastion yet. I think they need to put a little bit of damage on his W, maybe. We've talked about putting a 1-second silence on his ult, maybe. Something to that effect that just puts him a little bit over the edge. His chasing is nice, but it's not really doing much for you in lane.
No, I definitely agree with that. So as far as, you know, Shank's concerned, I'm seeing a lot of the chat talking about Shank jungle. What do you think about his? I mean, obviously jungle isn't as viable as it could be, just from the gold and the experience from it. But you know, is he strong in the jungle? Let's say compared to other conventional junglers like Hale. Because I don't know. I mean,
okay. No, and the reason is because he doesn't have a stun. You want a jungler to come out with. If you want a ganking jungler, I'm sure if Squeaky were still around, he'd tell you that bow is the best because you can come out into lane with a stun and a slow, and it's really nice. Shank has 2 slows, I believe, but he jungles at a decent pace, but the jungle trades off gold for experience, so you get more gold and less experience, and Shank's payoff comes at level 6, so it would take him much longer to get level 6, and, you know, S2 hasn't really buffed the amount of experience you get for a hero kill, so even those wouldn't assist very much. I think at level 1 it takes 4 hero kills to get 1 level, so that really it wouldn't assist him either. So losing out on any possible experience is going to set him back in the long run. So I don't think his jungle is, you know, particularly viable. In a matchmaking game, it could probably work. I mean, in matchmaking, I jungled Caprice today, and I jungled Carter constantly. So I mean, anything could happen there. It's a wonderful place to be.
Jungle Carter. I don't know. For those of you who know me, I have this like absolute hatred for Carter. I don't know what it is. I just hate his stupid face.
Dumb-looking face, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure.
Every time I look at it, I don't know if you guys played Han, it reminds me of Arbidon's voice, where it was like, duh, duh, and that's all he'd say.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I loved Armadon, man. He's a fun champ to play.
Yeah.
But we know Ryzen builds power Shank bottom. What about you, Arinnar? How do you build Shank when you play him? If you ever play him.
I don't play him much, if at all, right now. But if I played him, probably just 80.
Yeah.
Probably build attack speed and probably end up getting the Zealot's Blade and Wound Splitter.
Yeah. What about you, Hogan?
I don't play him because Mandy plays him every single game. But if I were to play him, I'd probably do. I think it was Prego once that did an invisibility build against us, and that, you know, I mean, Shank doesn't really kill people by himself, but the invisibility thing is pretty intimidating. Like, it had us guessing a lot, and that shit's got to be pretty fun to play. Sorry for cursing.
No, it's okay. You can say whatever. Shit.
You opened up the floodgates now.
Yeah, I mean, I played with Manti actually quite a bit the second day that Shank was out, and of course, you know, naturally he was Shank every single match. And I think honestly, I don't know if it was the matchup or, you know, a fluke or whatnot, but he did a build where he went, you know, attack speed and then a wound splitter, and of course, you know, he always builds Wind Rush on Shank as well, but he just built attack speed and wound splitter and completely annihilated the opposing team. He just like walked up to them, like, you know, within 2 seconds, like crit them 100,000 times and they died instantly.
That
Shank
build.
is hard to get away
There you
from,
go.
man.
Best Shanks build NA right there.
Yeah, someone should make a guide for that build. He's
Or just Nancy having some
I
fun.
went first item Wound Splitter again today. I
Oh,
definitely wouldn't recommend that for anyone unless you're a Daredevil.
He did. He bought first item Wound Splitter.
Yeah. That's
What
kind
does he
of
build it
if
with?
if you play hero nonstop, then you have every right to do really stupid things because it's got to get boring at some point. Like, me and Ryzen can't play the same hero for 2 games in a row.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Hey, I'm
Unless you're in a
convinced
tournament,
that
of course.
my attack speed Berserker's Mask Tinder is OP. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
But
I'm all about AD Ray.
AD Ray, all
Yeah.
about it.
Frost
All about
Prism
that
is
life.
how it's played, and I'm good.
Yeah? I think I
Yeah.
saw you play that once. That was really creepy. Like I don't think that's how he's meant to be played, but you know, whatever works. What do you
How he's
think?
gonna be played.
Yeah, that's you're bringing it. You're bringing it to competitive Strife. The AD carry Ray.
Hey man, I only have 280 carries. I gotta make a couple more somehow.
There you go. There you go. So, do you guys want to touch up on Shank a little bit more, or do you want to answer some questions?
Question sounds good. I think we covered everything about Shanks that needs to be covered.
All right. So, well, according to Gullivre, he only goes tank on Bastion because DPS.
This includes
sucks.
troll questions, mind you.
All right, I'm gonna say some from before. Senfglass _. Do you guys think there should be a smaller reward for generators, like generators or STH, like Homecoming Stone Portal Scroll from Hondota? I feel like late mid game you can often. You can't really try to gank somebody because generator would get split pushed. So basically, do you think the reward for pushing a generator is going to be balanced lower? I guess be nerfed.
I don't know.
I think that generators are pretty hard to get. Like if the team that they're pretty easy to defend. Like they do a lot of damage, and with the buffs that the towers and generators got, it just comes down to protecting it well enough. Like if you see 2 or 3 people pushing a lane for a generator, obviously you should stop them with that same amount of people, unless someone is like super fed. You only need 1 or 2 people, but I do think the rewards for getting a generator is pretty game ending in a way, for sure. I mean, you get a lot of gold from it, but getting that generator isn't as easy as people think.
Yeah, I think it's pretty appropriate. I would like to see a glyph in the game. I think that would be pretty cool. If you're a League player and you don't know what a glyph is, it gives your buildings like immunity for 4 seconds, 5 seconds.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool for the game.
Just in the past that you could tie it into like Bald Deer or something after like the 10-minute mark. Like if you kill him, you get a because Bald Deer falls off late game. Like no one even really pays attention to him, so that would be something that they can look for. But other than that, I think right now the generators are pretty fair for the way the game works. You know, a lot of people have been asking for super creeps and mega creeps, but I don't think that's really the style of Strife.
Yeah.
Poor Baldir, all alone in the jungle. But so we'll go to another question, or rather another comment. Somebody named Official Name, who also said he was the best Shank NA.
Probably.
Yeah. He said people will start dropping from League. I 100% guarantee it. I'm a Diamond League player who has played in the amateur scene a bit. The game has become grossly imbalanced, and the current balance team is doing a terrible job. Now, I don't know how familiar you guys are with the balancing of League, but that one is something that I can really attest to. As far as League is concerned, the way that Riot chooses to balance their champions is just based on how they think the champions are doing. League's system of picking and counterpicking is a cyclical system. So you see a lot of champions come into, flavor of the month basically, then fall out of flavor, and then come back into flavor of the month, blah, 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 in a cyclical manner. You know, for those of you who do know League, not too long ago, it was Kennen and Ryze really coming out of the woodwork with their builds. But what ends up happening is you pick a champion in that game, and they play it forever because it's countering whatever champion that people are mostly playing. And then what happens is League does a little tweak to say, you know what, hey, maybe this guy's doing a little bit too much damage. They tweak it, and then somebody's like, oh, now this champion is the hard counter to that. So then they start playing that champion. And then they figure out the next hard counter to that champion. And it goes in a completely cyclical manner, which I completely am against. I don't like that. Whereas I think S2 is doing a great job with how they're balancing at least heroes in this game. And, you know, obviously I'm a big proponent for fixing the jungle because, you know, I think that would add a breath of fresh air to the game. I don't necessarily think that they should make jungling a requirement like League does. But I do think that S2 is doing a much better job with balancing the game than Riot does with League. I don't know how you guys feel about S2's balancing. You don't like it?
Well, it's hard to say because there's only 14 heroes. It's very, very small hero pool, which makes it pretty easy, you know, to balance things at the moment. I mean, there's obviously better champions than some at certain roles, but I think if played correctly, you can beat your so-called counter in the lane. Like a lot of people say, Moxie is unbeatable. I beat plenty of Moxies with Minerva or something else that I won't mention. So yeah, it's the balancing is always going to be hard. You can't really like balance everything perfectly. It's never going to happen in a MOBA or in any in a Street Fighter or whatever, in any fighting game in general. So I mean, they're doing the best they can, and I do agree it's a lot better. Well, I didn't play League, but I played it for a little bit, and I could already see the problem there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people keep saying that they want more heroes in this game, which, you know, I do agree. It adds a little bit more variety to the game at the moment, but I think that there is a truth in saying that there is such a thing as too many choices.
Yeah.
But we have a question from somebody named Gullivre, who spelled his name with an R-E instead of an E-R. A roll call from the panel of Kaizen. What color is your underwear right now?
Gray.
Oh, okay. So I have green, and then it has mini taxi cabs on it.
Why?
Gullivre, why did you do this to us?
So we've got Ryzen wearing green boxers with yellow taxi cabs.
There.
Are you a taxi driver? Is that
They're ready to
part
go
of
on
your
a
uniform?
ride. Little pun. Anyway.
Oh, Ryzen's offering free rides. Let's hope it's not a dirty taxi cab like most.
Taxi Cab Confessions. Ryzen version.
Anyway.
What about? And I think Hogan said that he's wearing gray underwear.
Yeah.
Just plain gray.
No taxi cabs. I didn't put those on today. They're in the drawer.
No. Just fire trucks.
That'd be nice.
What about you, Arinnar?
Wearing red ones, man, with a flower pattern like a man.
Oh my goodness.
I was hoping he'd say, trick question, he's not wearing any underwear right now.
Yeah, I had to put some on for the show.
Yeah. You didn't want your cam falling down?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Alright, let's see. What other questions we got here? Oh, yeah. Here we go. Here's one. By Ronisic. I think you guys know who that is. I don't know. He's been trolling around, talking about how KZN is the best team in the world. What is your current opinion on the Strife meta? What is your current opinion?
It's pretty flexible. I mean, we're all still exploring a variety of options. So, you know, other than the lane setup 2-2-1, which is still actually flexible depending on how you want to play the game. I think everything is up for debate, and you can work out and develop different strategies that will be viable if you're able to execute at a high level. Like we've run 2-1-2 before, and we've done really well against high level of competition. It just depends how you run it and what your goals are. Our goals in that setup were to take towers and get, a 7 or 8 minute, I think it was 7 or 8 minutes Sindara. So if you're able to do that, then sure, you can pretty much run anything. So, if you have a good plan behind it and it's coherent, it makes sense, then you can really manipulate the game to be whatever you want it to be. But if you're just going to go out there and be like, tri-lane because tri-lane, then it's not going to work.
Have you dabbled with tri-laning?
We have before.
Yep.
Never again, though? Why?
Oh my god, don't remind me.
It's
Mantiqueus
it can be
is fun.
countered pretty nicely. I mean, if you catch them off guard right, it's very strong. I mean, you can get a tower pretty quick, but it's also easy to stop if the other team is good at rotating. So it's kind of like if it doesn't work the way it is supposed to, it kind of just falls off hard.
Super risky.
Super hard.
Yeah. So we've got I guess more of comments. This guy named Hesior wants to know how you feel about Hale. His favorite hero is Hale. He only plays Hale. What do you guys think about Hale?
Stop it. I'm just kidding.
Honestly, I feel like Hale is very underrated. We thought he was complete shit for like the longest time, and then we started seeing some Hales being played, and we lost those games. We were like, what the? We really lost because of the Hale only, because he was able to reach our back line and just disrupt all of the team fights. So yeah, I think he's very underrated right now, and I think more people are going to start playing him. Yeah, I like the hero.
I agree.
Yeah, I think he's one of those heroes that is very positionally
Yes.
how you say, can get positionally stunted if you don't dash right, or you're not close enough where you use his ultimate, like you're kind of fucked. But I mean, if you can get in position, he does a lot of damage.
He does.
And what people don't realize about Hale is building health on him is actually pretty decent because his lifesteal scales on his health.
It's true.
So let's see, what other questions? People are just talking about soloing generators with Hale.
R.I.P. Techiso. Yes, R.I.P. Techiso. I wonder what he's up to. Oh, for those who don't know, that was our old shot caller.
He's Challenger 1 in the league, man.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I saw that on his stream, but I didn't get to see him play.
I didn't watch it, I just saw it.
Yeah.
I saw one that said best laners with Vermilion.
There you go. Gullivre. What do you guys think about Bastion?
He's shit! Shut up! he's a really, probably the best tank in the game right now.
Yeah.
He's in a very good spot.
Yeah, definitely. I do agree with that. Who is your top 5 Strife players?
I think my top 5 would be Gullivre, Wolf Joe, Wubby, Ryzen, and who would be number 5? I would have to say Kid Peculiar.
Wow, it wasn't in that list.
Yeah, his list is strong. I think the top 5 is Angry Arin, Angry Arin, Angry Arin, Angry Arin, and Angry Arin to round it out. I mean, those players really showed us some high-level skill in early beta, and it's a shame that they're still not around because they were monster players.
What about you, Ryzen? What do you think?
Well, I'm gonna split it up by roles. So I guess I'll start. The best ADC, I think right now, is Runk Ralph, and then followed by him is Arinnar. The best solo bottom is either Wubby or Wolf Joe. The best tank is Gullivre. I think everyone can agree to that. The best support is Mantiqueus. And the best, what am I missing here? Best semi-carry, I guess? Probably be Hogan, Mob, and Itachi. Yeah,
I say Thatchy too.
Itachi's good. Oh, that's like top of my head. That's not a refined list or anything. So
All right, good to know Bastion conquers. I'll change that for next time. Skyzors asks, is there really a large pool of quote unquote known players at this point for Strife? I think that like the community is really small, but it's tight knit. So I think honestly, when I get into game, I look at who I'm playing with and who I'm playing against to see who I know. Whereas like if I was playing League or Dota or something, I wouldn't even look because I know I'm not going to know who they are. I mean, there have been times where I queued with people that I play with regularly, and then all of a sudden I'm against Gullivre. Like the other day I was against Gullivre and a bunch of his friends, and I got annihilated. Just completely wiped off the face of the map. It was really depressing. Because I started talking shit too with him. I was like, oh, Gullivre, you're going to lose, man. And then his 5th DC'd. I was like, yeah, now you're going to really lose 4v5, and then we lost really bad.
oh man.
He was playing Shank too, and he was just pulling mad people. Gullivre has friends, says Gullivre.
That's what I was thinking too. I was trying to figure out who his friends could have been.
Good one.
List Gullivre's 4 friends, huh? This is a hard list too.
Oh.
Angry Aaron.
Yeah. I don't know if there's like when I hear known, I think of like super popular players where it's more a familiar faces rather than known. Like you see some people that you see in usual tournaments, and like, oh, okay, this is gonna be a pretty fun match or something like that. So,
Yeah.
no one's really known. It's too small to say that.
This is a good question from Manuk with 2 Qs. Let's go in order here. Ryzen, who's your top champ, or rather hero?
Kitty. Moxie.
Moxie?
Yeah.
Is it both like your best hero and the hero you like to play most?
I definitely don't like to play Moxie. I think he needs to be removed from the game, or they need to change from like a cat to like a dog or something. I don't know. I don't like playing that hero because it's your only option solo bot in some cases if you don't know the game very well. So.
Well, what about Minerva, man? You said that you can defeat any Moxie with Minerva.
You can, but you gotta take huge risks. Like Moxie's like the safest solo bot pick, but she can be beat, or he can be. I don't know why I keep saying she because
I say she all the time too.
Just because of the pink. But yeah, you need to take risks to beat Moxie bot because he's such a safe laner. But risk versus reward if you can get it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Hogan? Who's your best?
Squirrel.
Squirrel.
I play Ray a lot. Probably too much. And that hero's pretty amazing, so they're never going to let me stop playing him. So I'll just be there forever.
What about
your best hero is Carter, though. Don't mess with my Carter.
Yeah.
We don't talk about Carter here.
Why? Because he's so awesome?
He just the trash can he ate, he deserves to be in.
Give us your best Carter impression, Sirius. Come on.
Me?
Yeah. You have to say Carter Ho in his voice.
I've played Carter once, and I refuse to ever play him.
Okay, Ryzen, do Carter Ho in the Carter voice.
Are you ready? Carter Ho! Alright,
That was close. I think
That was good.
you might have potential as a voice actor.
This is Twitch Gold right here. Somebody, Dubs asks, "What is Carter?" I feel like they hinted to that Carter is the Goblin, and this poor, I don't know, deformed, oblong-shaped purple thing is like their slave.
No, that's Carter.
That is Carter?
Carter is the slave.
Carter is
the other guys. We don't know who they are, why they're whipping him, or throwing him on his back, but
maybe he likes
Carter
being
is the
whipped.
slave, because they wouldn't say Carter Ho and talk about themselves unless they speak in the third person, and then that would be an interesting story as well. And then they're both named Carter because they're saying Carter Ho, so I don't know. We have reason to believe it's the slave.
The Carter twins?
and
Oh,
he's
man.
pulling around that cart, and he has the worst ultimate in game. He has Ring of Fire, so he has a lot going for him.
Oh man.
I mean, let's be honest here. What does a carter actually do? All he's doing is just pulling around the cart. That's all he does. I mean,
Damage.
let's be
That's not
honest. The
hard work,
goblins are the
though.
true heroes here.
Are you kidding? Those goblins couldn't get anywhere if they weren't pulled around by Carter. They'd be sitting back at base,
True, man.
just chilling.
Could you
Rockets
imagine
would
if
reach everywhere
Carter's
well.
ultimate was like a siege mode where he just like walked away from the cart? Goblins had to like defend themselves.
That'd be pretty sick, actually. If he just went berserk and he turned into like a melee brawler, like
Oh,
once
man.
he did his ultimate.
This is new ultimate right
Dude,
Dude,
there.
that would
Yeah,
honestly be
Ultra.
really cool.
Oh,
Like
then
an
I got my
alchemist
attack damage
style
higher.
ulti.
Yeah.
Yeah, like an alky.
Yeah. That'd be pretty cool. Oh, alright, here we go. Here's a question. Originally from, let's give credit here, Rogine 808, but also from Gullivre.
What's a
If
good
Healing
question?
Rod was removed from the game or removed from top choices, like just basically nerfed into the ground, which starting item would you buy and why?
I think that comes down to the hero you play.
Yeah, and your position. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Like for me, since I'm an AD carry, most likely would be starting boots on Vermilion again, and rush the fervor boots. And if I was playing Rook, most likely would go Fellblade, like I used to.
Before you realize the true potential of Healing Rod?
Seriously, man, Healing Rod's awesome.
Yeah, it's too good. I think for me, it's either going to be a Fellblade or a Glacial Gem. Fellblade only because the legendary effect lets you snowball incredibly well, and if you're a solo bottom, your goal is to snowball. And Glacial Gem obviously because of the mana regen.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be able to play the game without Healing Rod. I just,
You retire.
it just wouldn't work. I click it when I don't use it. Like, I cannot have a Healing Rod in my inventory, and I'm still just spamming to use it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work, and it's really depressing. But, I'd probably get boots first on almost every hero, just because boots allow you to buy 2 pots, and you can be extra aggressive.
How do you feel about the Healing Rod nerf?
Not enough.
Not enough.
Nope.
Not enough. I think it's like going. I think they're going on the right track there, though.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
think that the potential of having Healing Rod and 2 HP pots was a little ridiculous, but still, though, being able to buy that 1 HP pot and even that mana pot, or I don't know, some people buy 2 mana potions, but
Yeah, we have the discussion constantly that we'd rather Healing Rod be a, what do we call those? A magic wand, or what is it called in the
Power
other
supply.
game? Power supply.
Mhm.
Because it would equal out a lot of the lanes. So like Moxie that's spamming constantly on Minerva would have charges in his pocket and be able to just go ham on him at some point. Vex is a spammer that dominates lane because of that. The people would have those charges against him. It just seems like, there's a reason that item exists in the other games, and it's to balance out heroes that have less of a laning presence and give them an opportunity to still shine. Whereas right now it's like pick your 2 longest range heroes and just pew pew for a couple of minutes and win laning phase.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I was at a match earlier, just like this mid lane was Moxie and who was it? Moxie and Malady, and it was just
Jesus.
so much spam. I mean, personally, I wasn't up against them, but the poor 2 pubs that were there, man, they got destroyed. Yeah, it was actually they were actually up against Vermilion and Shank. It was a rough matchup.
Oh man, that doesn't sound very fun.
It was so sad. Rogine asks another question: is it worth if they put the ranking system in right now? I don't think it would be worth.
You don't think so?
I think it would
I think
depend
so.
on. I think it would be worth it, and it would. I think they'll put it in if S2 is really serious about focusing on the competitive scene of this. It'll be if when they put that in is going to be kind of a show. I think.
Yeah, I love the Hearthstone ranking system right now. I wish you could adapt it and do something like that for Strife.
That'd be awesome.
It's like an independent ranking system where you don't have to worry about what the other schmucks are doing. You can just like grind out your own games, and if you keep winning, you keep going up. Instead of being stuck in a pool of like whatever players, and then you could show your progress, I don't know, through load screens or something, and that would be cool. And I think that's the best system out there right now. Like, that's what makes me interested in Hearthstone, like being able to level up.
Yeah.
I mean, you can kind of level up in this with those stars.
Oh boy.
Oh my god, that's such a grind. Holy
Seriously, man.
grind.
Dude, those stars, man. It's like crack cocaine.
That 5th star is the star from hell.
Judging from how many stars I have now, it's gonna take like 1,000 wins to get 5 stars.
Yeah.
That's being nice.
Akuma says that if they were to put a ranking system in the game right now, they would have to fix the matchmaking first, which is, I think, a good point.
We assume that though, if they're saying ranked matchmaking, we'd assume that they'd have matches based off of your rank. It wouldn't just be like, here's anybody versus anybody, like brand new player versus Kaizen. Like,
yeah, you wouldn't
come hand in hand with it.
Yeah, you wouldn't see if they put in ranking, you wouldn't see like first-time players going against like us or anything like that anymore, I'm sure.
Yeah. Now, what do you guys prefer? Because League does a system where you have your solo/duo queue rank. You have a 5s rank and a 3s rank. Do you prefer that separate ranking system, or what would you prefer?
I think you have to have separate because I think Dota had this problem at some point. They like put out a ranked and they just had like no restriction on how many team members you could bring, and it just turns into like a non-stop grind fest with your 4 best friends, and it's just really silly because then you could be like 3 people and 2 people against the 5 stack, and obviously your communication is just going to be worse off. So yeah, I'd say 5s is a necessary thing, and then solo or duo, I don't know. Duo kind of seems like a cop out. Maybe just solo queue, like a true solo queue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed that, like, especially because, you know, I played quite a bit of ranked League. Coming in as a duo lane, people would be intentionally spiteful of letting you lane together just because they had bad experiences, and if you went in a solo against people who were duo queued, like, they would refuse to do anything besides lane together.
Mm-hmm.
I think that causes a lot of issue.
Yeah, I think I did. I mean, I came from League and I've played, I think, close to 2,000 or more ranked games. Duo queue, I liked duo queue for a little bit, but in the end, I thought it was less worth it, especially depending on like your ranking differences. One player can kind of drag you down, or even the player that's higher up can still kind of drag the lower player down in a way. And that whole thing with wanting to lane together, it doesn't always work out at all in a lot of cases, and I think it's more fair if they just stick to solo queue. A little less one-sided than it could be if you have like 2 really, really good players queuing together.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I agree with that. Gullivre says if there was a solo ranked, he'd never play it because he hates everyone.
Bro.
That is true.
That's not surprising.
Yeah. Now I got a question for you, because this is something that's kind of bothered me. I think that S2 is doing a good job with trying to make it like less toxic than other MOBAs. I like not being able to talk to your opponent. I just hated that experience in any of the games where like your team is like arguing with each other and then they turn like all chat on and it's just like, hey guys, let me vent to you about how shitty my team is. But do you think it's a little counterintuitive to like not have voice chat available to pubs within your game? I think that I don't know. I'd like to be able to communicate with people I don't know via voice chat.
So I've played like 2 games of Han, and I'm really glad they don't have voice chat with pubs, because I think they learned their lesson from Han. It is borderline twice as toxic as talking to all chat.
Yeah.
maybe 5 times. I don't know. It was the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life. I
Yeah,
played one game of Han and I've never been yelled at more in my life.
yeah. Because I mean, obviously, typing something is you can't hear the tone or the actual like malice behind what you say. You can hear that in voice chat. Like they're just things that people just can't hold in, and it's
Oh, believe me, you'll hear my malice.
it just ruins morale all around.
I'm just gonna make a really angry-looking emoticon, so you know that's coming from deep hatred.
Yeah.
Mecha asks, why is the meta still 2-2-1? Baldir that early does not feel worth it, and later in the game, rotating isn't that big of a deal.
Baldir is worth it early. The global gold is very helpful, and you need the 4 people from mid and top to rotate to, contest it if it needed to be, or just easier to take it with. It's definitely a factor, especially when you get into like more intense games and team-oriented games. It's never not worth doing Baldir unless like you get caught out doing it and lose all 5 of your members.
There are some teams though that don't like Baldir. So I mean, we know that from playing against some teams in particular. The problem with Baldir is that like if you're at Baldir, you're not pushing a lane, so there's an opportunity cost associated with it. But it definitely is worth it in our opinion because you can peel off and you can take it pretty quickly. So if you already have a lot of pressure on your lane, you go get that as like an added award or reward. And yeah, I think it's definitely a good reason to keep more heroes up there. And Sindar just isn't in play that early on in the game. Like there's no reason to have that many people on the bottom half of the map. You'd just be putting yourself at a disadvantage unless it's part of a strategy you're running.
That early Sindar control, man.
Yeah,
Gotta get it.
you can look at her for a while, I guess.
I still feel like sometimes 5v5 people on Sindara, even like mid game, is still like dangerous. Like people like die all the time, but
She does
I
a
mean
lot of
I think
damage.
a lot of what she does a lot of damage and she's got a lot of health. But as far as like Baldir is concerned, I think a lot of people focus too much on you need to kill Baldir. But if you kill Baldir quite often, and the enemy team thinks that you're going to be doing Baldir again when you disappear, it's a very good baiting tool too, especially with the location of the bushes. Just chilling in those bushes can be very dangerous. I mean, somebody like Moxie that can check pretty easily with the Yarn Ball. I mean, depends on how much mana you get back, but
Oh, ask that new question. We have an answer.
this new one
Yes.
by Dubs.
No, by Haystor.
Oh, what game mode would you add to Strife? I'd love to see
One
for
life
all.
mode. We want to play
Oh.
one life mode and item drop mode. Those two
Yeah.
modes would be amazing.
So fun.
We've talked about this at length before. These are our team modes that we're suggesting. They would definitely not be noob friendly though, so I don't know if that's the S2 would go for ever, but it's definitely something that would be really interesting if you had one life only to work with, or if you die, you drop your items.
It would be so much fun.
Hilarious.
That'd be really fun.
Final Destination 1 stock mode. That's basically what's going on.
Yes.
Do you know what would be interesting? I was thinking about this yesterday because I was reading up on a little bit of the lore. I think that they should probably do a map for each zone of Strife, That'd be pretty interesting to see, since like everybody's from like a different realm. And of course like Ace is from the one with ice, blah 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 blah. That'd actually be pretty interesting, because I know from, again, because most of my experience is from League, they have different maps and they're really enjoyable to play, but they don't cycle through them unless you're in that season. Would it be nice with all random queue or something?
Yeah, we love all random.
Yeah,
That's all we
cool.
played in. Me and Manti played in Dota, because it kind of levels out the playing field a little bit more. Because you have to deal with like the anti-mage pickers, the Furion pickers, and blah 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 blah. So being able to just have like a random set, like put you on a different role than you usually play, it would definitely be refreshing.
We've done that a few times in Strife too, before they introduced matchmaking actually. It was pretty fun.
Oh yeah, where you don't pick it, just automatically let it go.
Yeah, it picked a champion for you. You don't get your crafteds, or you don't pick your pet. You just get random hero, random pet, and go from there. It was pretty fun.
I'm sure they're thinking about adding new game modes and maps, but I think the main priority is what everyone thinks it is. It's MMR. But I'm sure they'll add it in the future, the maps and the modes.
Yeah, I mean that's the issue though. Like in college I did a statistical analysis on like ELO, the ELO system in League, and Microsoft has their own system. It's like True Rating or whatever it's called now. Even with MMR, it's actually quite difficult to matchmake with teams, basically. Just because you may have Arinnar who's like solo queuing and does really really well, but can't carry the team on his back because Arinnar's got a weak back, but and that hurts him. That hurts his score, even though he performed well himself. So that would be something interesting to see, especially if they only do the solo queues separate from the groups of 5.
Yeah.
Oh no, man! I work out my back quite a bit.
This is why sometimes solo queue is also known as YOLO queue.
Yep. Yeah.
Take that risk.
All right. So question: Player X comes from Dota, Dota 2. Player Y comes from League. Which one has the advantage in Strife, do you think?
Neither.
Player X.
I think the person who has the advantage in Strife is the one who is critical of their own play and the one who understands the basic concept behind MOBAs more so than anything.
If we're assuming they're the same skill level, then I'd probably say the player from Dota, just because the pace of the game is so much different. But how often do you have 2 people of the same skill level? Like, if someone dominates a Strife, dominates a League, they're going to be good at Strife. If someone sucks at Dota, they're not going to come to Strife and be like, oh my god, I played Dota, I'm God mode here. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, good players are going to be good players in most games that are similar genre and stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just because they all play the same, that's why they're the same genre.
It's all about the adapting.
Yeah, adapting to any situation because, no game is the same, and Ryzen is dancing.
Sorry. Feeling myself.
You don't have to apologize. It's those taxi underwear that you're wearing, man.
Yeah.
And taxis. But yeah, do you guys have any other points you want to touch up on as we're wrapping up? Anything you want to mention? Anybody want to say hi to anyone's mom?
This was very, very fun. I didn't expect us to go this long. We went on like an hour and a half. That's like the longest talk show I've been on, so very well.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun, man.
It like flew by extremely fast too, so.
Yeah. Would you guys want to be on again?
For sure.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
that's
for
awesome.
Sure.
So I promised you guys some big news. So it's going to be a little taste of what's to come. That was gross, but
you had to point it out.
I shouldn't have said anything. I should have just. Oh, right. So for those of you who know, Serious Business is not just me. It's also a group of people. We have Tinga Dubs, however you want to say his name. Dubs works behind the scenes a lot of the time. We have Circles who works behind the scenes. We have Trix who works behind the scenes, and quite a few other people. And now we have Team Kaizen who's been helping us out a lot. So we kind of joined up here. And what you can expect to see from us is our website, srsbsns.tv, is not only going to be redirected to our Twitch page in the near future. We're going to have some content up on there, and we would love to hear from you guys if you have any, suggestions, things you'd like to see. Feel free to let us know, and we will try our best to make that happen. So keep your support up for Serious Business TV. Of course, follow these guys on Twitch as well as on any of their Twitters. And, you can expect to see from us soon. And, of course, if you have any suggestions as to what you would like to see on the next serious business, a casual look at Strife, feel free to message me on my inbox. And even if it's something that we don't choose, I will definitely give you an answer anyway. So again, we'll do another roll call. Ryzen up on the right there. We've got Hogan to the left of me, and then we've got Arinnar, last but definitely not least, and they are Team Kaizen. I hope you guys had fun, and we will see you next.